Oh wait, no, that's not. Change that.
Yeah,
Okay.
two parts, two parts.
We're recording more than we normally
Fine.
do, but that's fine. Here we are. We're recording.
Here we are. Here we be.
Look at us.
But we're not talking about the Clone
Who'da-
Wars. So
Not me.
there we go. There we go. All right. All right. Excuse me. Me. Nope. Nope. Keep that right there. There we go.
Yeah, I watched Clueless last week.
That's a good
Paul
movie.
Rudd.
Mhm.
Paul Rudd and Clueless. Man,
Looks the exact same.
he does.
The man
What a
does not
performance.
age.
Yeah. Wait, why is this going over 10 seconds? Just keep that up. Keep that up. Okay.
Clueless is a good movie, man. Like,
Well, especially in terms of like adaptate. Like, have you read the book that's based on?
I haven't read Emma. No,
What?
I did not know there was a book that it could be based on.
Oh yeah, very
it's like
much-
it's was it one of the Brontes?
Yeah.
Or Austen? Yeah.
It's. I think it's Austen. It's the same as Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah. So yeah, one of those like real
Mhm.
classic, comedy of manners,
Yeah.
stories.
And it's a very accurate retelling.
And then they did 10 Things I Hate About You being Taming of the Shrew, and it was not
Yep.
anywhere as good. No, this was like just full of really good comedic actors. I had not remembered that it was.
Yeah, Alicia Silverstone should have gotten more attention. She was.
Yeah, she's really funny.
Yeah, I mean, she looked very good in Aerosmith music videos, as I could attest
Sure.
as a 12-year-old when those came out. But she also was a good actress. And
Yeah.
good, that was recorded for all of posterity to see on YouTube. Anyway, all right, let's get started.
Let's do it.
Hello, cats and kittens and non-binary pals, both with and without your mittens. I am Matthew. I'm joined once again by Will and Steve, the comic book experts, the Marvel comic experts specifically, and we were talking about that all-time popular, everyone knows their comic books, everyone has all their graphic novels character who has finally come to the MCU screen, Wonderman. Now, if you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, I'm so glad we finally have a Wonderman TV show, I hope both of you find each other. If you're sitting there going, wait a minute, who is Wonderman and why is there a TV show about him? Check out the episode we put out 2 days ago. If you're thinking, oh my gosh, Wonderman, I didn't really know what was going on, or I knew a little what was going on, but this was an interesting show and now I want to talk about it. Now you found the right place. This is the podcast for you. Or if you didn't watch the show and for some reason you don't want to watch the show, but you want to know about it, this is also the podcast for you. Though honestly, I think this is one of the best things Marvel has made in a long time. I would hit pause, watch it, and then of course come back. But that's just me. Steve, Will, what do you all think? What do you think of the show overall?
I had a good time. I liked it. Steve and I kind of did a quick note check with each other on how we felt about it overall. And I think mostly positive. I think I feel like the first half I think I liked better than the second half. I think the second half got a little muddy a little bit here and there. And then the like kind of semi time skip at the end was a funny narrative decision. But no, I had a good time. I love this down to earth, grounded character study that the MCU is able to do with their Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, I thought Simon was an excellent character, and I thought that Trevor Slattery, Ben Kingsley steals every scene that he's in, and so I think the show really shined every moment that the two of them were on the screen together. There was other stuff that kind of like was up and down for me about the show, but when you've got a show where you just want to watch the two characters interact, then you've got something that I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah, I think that's really well put, and I definitely think this felt like it had the lowest stakes of almost anything we've seen from the MCU in a long time, and that I really appreciated that because it didn't feel like it was okay. Once again, the whole world is under threat. but also I never felt like the stakes weren't incredibly high for the characters who I was invested in. And to me, that's a really important part of storytelling. That, yeah, I mean, these are comic book superhero stories. Sometimes the whole world should be at threat. Sometimes the whole city should be at threat. Sometimes there should be some big, massive threat. But when you have to keep going to that well again and again, it dries out. And I really like seeing that they could go to this very different perspective and it still be a great story.
Absolutely.
Before we jump too much further, can one of you give a brief, focus on brief, summary of the story? What happens these 8 episodes?
Yeah, I'm better at brief than Will, so let me give this one a try. So Simon Williams is he's a struggling actor who really hasn't ever landed any role of consequence. He also has superpowers, which he needs to keep secret because of a large, a history of liability. And this is kind of like building off of what we've seen in Marvel about superpowers are, as they enter daily life, they create conflicts with the world that we know. And so Simon, he gets he gets contacted by, or he thinks that it's a coincidence, Trevor Slattery, who MCU fans may know as the Mandarin, but is really just an actor. He gets acting lessons from them. They're going out for the same role, for roles in the same movie, which is an adaptation of Wonderman, which was a movie that he loved as a kid. And the show, meanwhile, Trevor Slattery is keeping tabs on him for damage control. And so it is about Wonderman, about Simon's journey, self-discovery and learning to become a good actor, trying to land this role, ultimately getting it, and sort of the way that changes his life and his relationship with Trevor as it evolves throughout the story.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. And there is a little bit of a MCU style story about superheroes, and that these people from Damage Control, which is something we've learned about already in the MCU, are coming after him. But really, it's much more about this personal story. And when the biggest way that him having superheroes manifests, him having superpowers manifests, is this secret that he feels like he has to keep. And in that way, I feel like, well, yes, superpowers don't exist in our own world. Make him gay, make him trans, make him there's so many things that I think throughout history, actors have had to keep secret to some extent or another. And
I definitely thought that the scene that he meets up with his ex-girlfriend in the bar and she's like, I know your secret, it's okay. I thought, and then they talk around it the whole time. I definitely thought that at the end of the scene, she was going to be like, I know you're gay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was that scene, and then also there's a great scene with him and Trevor, where Trevor's talking about you have to keep it secret, and that sucks, but use that power. And I felt, they never quite make it explicit, although later Trevor definitely does see exactly what it is. But in both cases, I felt like this is very intentionally being written as this could be the metaphor. Although it's superpowers in this case, but it could be these other things that have happened in real life for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's talk for a minute about why it is that superpowers specifically have to be kept secret in Hollywood. Because obviously this is a world where the Avengers exist, Captain America, as we see at one point, because they see it what's the name of the musical that's so big? Rogers, Rogers is the big musical.
Yeah.
But we have a rule that people can't have superpowers if they are in Hollywood. Why is that?
The doorman clause.
It's a liability concern, which, as somebody who's written a comic book about insurance agents, I love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy cow. I did not see that one coming. And the fact that they did a whole episode kind of dedicated to where that's coming from. Because in episode 3, they do a name drop of DeMar Doorman Davis.
Now that's not a
who-
name that's ever been said in Marvel Comics, is it?
Oh yeah. Oh no, it's a character.
He's a character.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about this.
Yeah. So he's in the comics, he's a mutant, but he's part of the Great Lakes Avengers, which are kind of just like this joke Avengers team.
Yeah.
Consisting of people with powers that aren't that great or are knockoff versions of established strong character. Like there's
if you remember
2D Man.
No, Flat Man. Yeah. Who's a knockoff of Mr. Fantastic. If you remember from the She-Hulk show, Mr. Immortal, the guy
Immortal.
He is also a member of the same team. Also Squirrel Girl, who you blew up and almost got her own show. But
it's Doorman was on that team. In the comics, again, a mutant, and in this they show that he got like toxic waste from rocks on. But
if
he
Wonderman is a
become
C-lister.
One at a time.
Yeah.
I was just Doorman is a really originally named guy because he can go up to a wall and basically he can become a portal through that wall, and so you just walk through him, and he's a portable door. He is Doorman. And so here in the 4th episode of Wonderman, you get introduced to DeMar Davis, Doorman. He comes across these powers and he gets hired by Josh Gad, of all people, to be his which is a application of superpowers in a real world environment. If you're an actor and you're trying to get past all these paparazzi and all these fans, you hire Doorman. He gets you out through walls and shit, and stuff. And it's just it's so cool, and it was so fun to see that happen. But this is also because I had seen this episode when we recorded our last one. I was thinking of Josh Gad when I'm like, can Josh Gad no longer be cast as a character in the MCU?
I mean, I did comment to my spouse when we saw, because at the end of the episode, he basically tries to use Doorman as a portal. Something goes wrong. Doorman like sneezes at the time or something, and then Josh Gad just gets stuck in there. And
he's hungover and gets trapped in this door dimension.
Right. And I did comment to my spouse who I was watching with, so is he now Chekhov's Josh Gad? And he will have to return. And he didn't. I think he's going to be returning at some point later in some show. But yeah, I thought it was such a brilliant. First of all, the whole thing is just it's a joke and it's played for laughs, but it's also played seriously as this like interesting story of, again, the metaphor, someone who becomes famous in Hollywood because they're a one-trick pony, and then kind of wants to do more, and also just what happens when the novelty of that wears off, and he starts having trouble getting more jobs because it's not cool and interesting anymore, and so it's a fun little story, but then also it creates this idea of Josh Gad just disappeared, and now who do you sue about that? Like, this is and so the idea that therefore they say across the board, everyone has to sign something saying they don't have superpowers or else they're gone. I just thought it was so brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was really cool. And if Wonderman is a C-lister in the comics, Doorman is a Z-lister, right? Like he is
nobody
just
knows
he's a punchline. He's comic relief. They'll put him in an issue once every couple years, but he's so that it's fun to see. It's a fun use of just having this massive backlog of stories spanning decades and all of these hundreds of characters that you can pull from, is that you can bring out somebody like DeMar Davis. You're like, oh, we need somebody for this story who's a character who fits this sort of this throwaway role, this cautionary tale about celebrity and superpowers, and cool, I got somebody. That's fun.
And this does seem the perfect way to do that, because I'm guessing for you two, it was exciting to hear that name and be like, oh, I know that character. Whereas for me, I didn't feel like I was missing anything because I'd never heard of him before. It was I knew everything I needed to know for this story.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it is one of my favorite things about being the nerd that knows all the source material and just like seeing things show up on screen.
Yeah.
Oh, they finally brought that over. Oh, they finally did this. Oh, they're referencing this storyline. That's just so much fun.
So but in the comics, the character isn't an actor, right? That's something they create for this.
Damar? No.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-mm.
No.
I am curious
Repurposed.
I am curious what's going to happen. This is a rule in Hollywood. We've not learned if the international film community has this, because we do know of another superhero who is also an actor.
Yeah,
Kingo from the Eternals, played by Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he's pretty deeply hidden, and also Bollywood is really nuts, so it might have not quite the same rules and stuff like that. But interesting question to explore.
Well,
Yeah.
they said in the Eternals, he is always just his own son. Like he's a legacy actor, and just nepotism redefined.
Right.
And he's like the fourth in his generation or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just hilarious that Bollywood's just like, yeah, that makes sense.
Speaking of Kumail Nanjiani, the news just came out that he is going to be starring in the adaptation of one of my favorite comics of all time, Sex Criminals. Just got ordered for a series.
No.
Yeah.
That does not sound like Stan Lee, so I'm guessing this is not a Marvel show.
No,
It is
it's
not. No.
Okay. That does
Oh
sound
my
fun.
gosh, no way.
Yeah. If this
This is
ends up
such a
actually
tangent.
coming out, I'm gonna be so stoked.
I love that actor. So,
Man.
getting back to this though, because obviously, I mean, there's a lot of shows out there that are doing reviews of this. I think we all enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend people watch it. But I do want to talk about some of the questions that come up with it. And so let's start here, because the idea of, like, one of the things that I think is often interesting is that when superhero shows are a metaphor for things in our own world, often there's a difference, because, like, as an example, if being born a mutant is kind of a metaphor for being born, a race that's being oppressed or gay or anything like that, on the one hand, you're talking about groups that are oppressed because of simple bigotry and stupidity. The idea that people of a different race or of a different sexuality are inherently threatening is nonsense. The idea that people who have superpowers that are often quite lethal are threatening has some more basis in reality. And again, I think most of us are still like, that isn't a good reason to oppress them, but it makes it more of a question. In the same way, I think, any good thinking person is going to say rules about you have to be this kind of person or that kind of person, or you can't have this kind of secret to be an actor in Hollywood, are nuts. But they do present a situation where a person had a superpower and it caused a huge problem in Hollywood. What do you think of the rule? Like, what, we were talking last time about, like, what adjustments do you make or do you not make? Does the doorman rule make sense? Is it going too far? Should there be nothing like this? What do y'all think?
I mean, I don't think him having superpowers caused the problem. I think him not knowing how to control or use his superpowers very well caused the problem. And so, yeah, it's, discrimination, restriction of a type of person or characteristic of a person rather than certain actions or I could see this being very realistic, just because, like you said, Josh Gad disappears and they don't know who to sue. Somebody has to be responsible. Somebody has to be sued. But it's so new and it's
or
so
even brought up on
outside of
criminal
any.
charges.
Yeah. They don't know what to do about it, and so they go heavy-handed, and that seems incredibly realistic. And would this hold up in court? No, but is everybody too bigoted and scared to really try to test it? Also, no. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, even you look at all these congressional hearings about, like, anything based on the internet, and they're just fumbling over themselves in those questions.
Oh yeah.
It's so sad to be like, oh, these are the people that are making the laws in our country. Cool. So
any of
when
us
you
who
have
remember a series of tubes.
For the younger, that was how a senator described the internet while
it's not
talking
a
about how
truck
to
where you just put stuff.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, dude, like, I imagine an extreme reaction to that. Cause like, but I also think of, it's a shame that someone who can float 6 inches off of the ground as their superpower is going to get the same discrimination in Hollywood, is going to get the same discrimination as someone with electric powers that could literally fry somebody on accident. Like these are not the same, but in the eyes of this clause, they are.
Right.
And that's the part that sucks, that I don't like.
There's a couple things I want to talk about here, but where you just went, I think is actually a really good start, because it also gets into the question of what is a superpower as opposed to just what are the outer limits of the human experience. Because in a purely biological sense, Michael Phelps is an X-Men. Like Michael Phelps is a genetic mutation of humanity, that he has a very, very particular thing that caused his lungs to develop. I don't know if it's his lungs or the way he processes oxygen.
Everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's also his wingspan, his arms, but like literally he processes oxygen in different ways than most humans, which allows him to hold his breath longer than most humans and allows him to stay strong while almost out of breath much longer than most humans, which allows him to swim better than most humans. And it is like, that is evolution. Like there's a genetic mutation involved there somewhere. I don't think anyone would say he has superpowers, because we don't think of that in our world. But like the person who can levitate 6 inches off the ground, or maybe 1 inch, is that kind of the Michael Phelps, or is that, where do we draw that line? I think because that's one of the first questions is, what is a superpower?
No, these are the types of things that if it went into this whole legal challenge, like this is what the law is set to pick apart. I would love to see a She-Hulk episode where they have to argue and set a precedent around this.
Oh, that'd be great. Either She-Hulk or I don't really love the new Daredevil, but yeah, either one of those lawyers getting involved. I think would be really interesting. And also, Steve, to go back to two of the things you had said. First of all, the secrecy, I think, is such an important part, because again, superpowers don't really exist, but the idea of people who had to keep parts of themselves secret for a long time, and therefore probably like never actually got to talk to people in community, never got to, and became, it became more dangerous to them or to others. Especially I'm thinking of people who might have suspected early on in HIV/AIDS that they were positive, but if you went and got yourself tested, there's now a record that you have it, and there's in the 80s and most of the 90s still, there's an awful lot of things you would be immediately barred from if you tested positive for HIV. The number of stories of kids who start to think they might be gay or queer or trans and don't think they can talk to anybody about it. And guess what? Now they're getting groomed by the one person who will, because they go to the parts of the internet where they can talk to people about it, which I think the whole Anakin Palpatine story is very much a model of. So yeah, I think that point about the secrecy is so important.
Yes, absolutely. And it's also from the genre convention, getting into the parts of the superhero story that we use and we don't use, and how it's sort of how that genre is evolving. We from the beginning of the MCU, we really left the idea of the secret identity in the dust. Iron Man just right out of the gate, just press conference. Yeah, I'm Iron Man.
Yeah, he ends the first movie just saying it.
Yeah. We've had it's such a genre convention for superheroes that there's a secret identity, and outside of like Spider-Man, it's been largely absent from the MCU. And now we're seeing it from the other side of things, where it's not the superhero who's keeping their civilian identity secret. It's the civilian who's keeping their superpowers secret.
Right.
And I think that's a really interesting inversion.
Yeah. And the other thing I think I picked up on what you were saying before was this whole idea of the legal challenge, because They didn't go into much detail about this, but I noticed that they said that this was something the movie industry did voluntarily. Like they did it themselves. And
Mhm.
that is, again, part of a real history. You know, if you think
Yeah.
about things like the movie rating
Hays
system that
Code,
we still
yeah.
have, the Hays Code for comic books and stuff like that, a lot of the
Mhm.
McCarthy time, like censorship limitations, these are a lot of things that maybe in the 50s you could have gotten away with because of courts, but like today, and any court that really is looking at the Constitution would never stand up. Like if the government tried to impose this movie rating system, you know, First Amendment challenges at the wazoo. But if the movie industry does it voluntarily, then
Yeah.
it's, you know, well, this is a voluntary thing. They don't have to do this. And I like that they present this doorman rule in exactly the same way. Because you're right,
Totally.
like you could have superpowered people as a collective class sue and say, "Hey, wait, this isn't okay."
Mhm.
Yeah, totally.
God, and think of the savings if you had superpowered people on your stage crew to like move things.
I mean,
or like to build your sets.
right? Or stuntmen. Like if I was an actual
Yeah.
stuntman in Hollywood, I might get my union to sue to be like, what do you mean? I have to learn how to wear the fire retardant suit in the exact right way. And now you're telling me this guy is just actually retardant to fire? That's not
So that
like
that is how Simon Williams in the comics got his start as an actor. He was a stuntman first, and then it's like, oh, you can be an actor and do all your own stunts. Let's put you put your face on the camera.
Oh, I love that.
Mhm.
Imagine hiring you hire one Jamie Madrox and you have an entire stage crew just ready to go. It's cost savings, man. But with this clause, it's just not going to happen.
Well, and here's where I do love, like, I wish there was some more exploration of this side of things. And this is a bit cynical, but I don't disagree with it. I appreciate that in The Boys, they kind of recognize, okay, in legit, in kind of like traditional Hollywood, all that's true, but really, where's it all going to happen? In porn. You know, you got a person who can make 5 replicas of the same. Well, look, they're going to run a train. Like that's just going to be what works, you know. So, by the way, you can curse. This is not a family-friendly show, as I just indicated in that conversation.
Oh man.
So let's talk about the character of Trevor a bit, because you know, he starts out in the first episode, we really think he's here to be a friend, and he's kind of like, turned a new leaf and become this new person, which a lot of which we saw in Shang-Chi. But then, of course, at the end of episode 1, we find out, no, he's working for damage control. And then later through flashbacks, we find out that he's doing it kind of under duress and under threat of going to jail. And eventually, of course, he winds up, turning his back on damage control and going so far as to become the Mandarin again and go to jail specifically to protect his friend Simon. What do you think of that whole plot line and kind of where his character went?
Spectacular.
Yeah, it was it's one of those things where it's like, is he playing me? Because he's such a fantastic actor. Like Ben Kingsley won, but also Trevor Slattery. Like I all the scenes where he would have his normal talking voice, and then like the scene shifts and he drops his voice and he starts doing whatever character he's gonna play for whatever role, and and you're like, oh my god, it's so much fun to watch him like try for his own role, but at the same time be a mentor to Simon and figure out that balance between the two. And like one of the scenes that stands out to me the most is at the end when Simon is confronting him about the double cross basically, and like I'm so glad it didn't do your classic like explode at each other, yell, yell, yell. No, it that's what like the rom-com type stuff. But then with when Trevor was just like, and Simon's like, well, how are you gonna fix it? And Trevor's just like, I don't know. And he's like slamming his fists out of like old man frustration. That I picture that so much when I think of this show, of just him just so frustrated with like, how do I get this kid that I have become such a close mentor to out of the mess that I put him in. And I loved that one scene so much. And yeah, he was a wonderful character to watch, more so than Simon in a lot of scenes.
I think also you could really argue he's the real main character of the show, because he has the real like set of moral decisions to make. He's the one who is forced with sort of like the necessity to change, and is making the sort of decisions that drive the plot along. He starts off as this, kind of Falstaff coward, right? And it's just his cowardice is laudable. It's played for laughs. It's very fun. We empathize when he's, sitting across from damage control, and they're like, we could do this the easy way, or we can do this, you can work with us, or you can go to jail, or you can do, and he's like, the other thing, the not jail thing, I don't even care what it is. It's great, and he's just very compelling in that role, and being able to kind of and yeah, he's a good actor. He's playing an actor who is a good actor, and just being and having to go through this. I thought that we would see a little more of it in Shang-Chi, but confronting this sort of cowardice, and being in the role where he does have to make moral choices and does have to stand up, and that's fun to watch, because the performance, the personality was strong enough that I wanted to see him go through his arc and his transformation.
No, I think you're right. I think even that moment that you said is kind of played for laughs of the, oh no, choice B, I will definitely not go to prison. I think it's also very, illuminating, because what it's kind of saying also is he is completely self-focused in that moment. And the idea of, okay, is there a line that you won't cross in order to cover your own ass? He doesn't want to hear what the line is. He will happily cross it, and you understand, but like this is not a person who starts out with a deep moral principle, but by the end he definitely does. And that's not a new story. Not, you can say no story is new, but like the story of the person who starts out ready to sacrifice our hero for their own gain comes to realize that no, they have, pretended to be their friend, but now has really become their friend or their lover or whatever it is, and now is willing to sacrifice themselves to protect that person. We've seen that a lot, but I felt like this was a really kind of new take on it, in ways you guys are describing. Like it's not quite the classic story we know, but it also is just a really good story. And having it here be between good friends and people who are kind of professional, in a lot of ways, I mean, I think they form a friendship, but it's more just that they're professional colleagues. Like they haven't had long talks about their romantic past. They haven't bonded about other things. They have this single shared experience of fighting their way up in a really hard industry, and that's what bonds them. It was just really nice to see that traditional story in this different setting.
Yeah, and I loved as far as like a character is concerned, the conversation about, hey man, like acting is a job. You just show up, you just gotta do it. And but that's not what Simon wants to hear. And then Trevor to be like, actually, yeah, it's a calling. Like true actors, it's a calling, and it's what they were meant to do. And in that scene, it was kind of just one of those like, Simon and Trevor have that same passion for acting. It's just that Trevor is wise. He's done it. He was Simon 20 years ago.
Yeah, and he's gone all the way down. He's gone on his own arc of going all the way down and coming all the way back up, right? Like he's found he did the Mandarin thing. He's found his sobriety, and so he's kind of in a place where he can be a mentor now, but he still has more to his own arc.
God, yeah, that was so. It's the character beats that really make or break a show, and this show had it in spades. It was so
Speaking of, it really is remarkable how self-consciously and how resolutely this is not a superhero show, to the point that me and Will were talking about. You would expect the Wonderman show to be the entire sequence that is completely off camera, between, you know, the sort of like main end of the show and the end of the show,
Right.
where
Him come to terms with his powers and
like Ben King's Trevor Slattery, you know, takes the fall for him, and goes to prison, and Simon, who to this point doesn't have any control over his powers, and hasn't really had to make many moral decisions of his own, goes through all of the personal rigor and training in order to learn how to control these powers that he has and use them for the greater good, which is also not something that he has been particularly interested in the past. Overcome his own feelings of betrayal and do what's right. And yeah, that you know, I watched Ironheart right after, and that's, you know, that's what that show is. Every show is like every superhero and like self-consciously superhero show, everything that's conforming to the genre is like, let's self-actualize this character through learning how to use and come to terms with their powers,
Right.
and learning how to be a moral person and make make moral choices, and all of that happens for Simon off camera.
yeah, he has this big Hollywood release, and then they do a time jump, and he has realized himself, and you're like, oh, okay.
And even then, I feel like, you know, because I really expected that it was going to be the traditional, like somewhere in episode 6, 7, or 8, you know, robbers would attack the stage where they're shooting the show, or like some light would fall and almost kill a crewman. Like he would be in a situation where he has to reveal that he has powers in order to save someone, and he is willing to do that even though it breaks the secret, because really he should just be a hero. But of course we don't get that. We get him, like, Trevor makes the sacrifice play, and he could say, no, wait, let me show you all I have powers, because that's what I'm supposed to be. He doesn't do that. And I don't think he's wrong. I think Trevor volunteers to make the sacrifice. He accepts that. And then even at, and when we see him, like, the thing that makes Trevor have to do that is he at one point gets so kind of frustrated and scared that his secret's going to be revealed that he loses control and causes this explosion. And no one else is around when he does it. And I think you could say that maybe he would have tried harder not to do it if people were around. But I think part of the implication is that he loses control. And if people had been around, he might have hurt some people. Like, that's, I think, part of the whole, like, there is some danger here involved with him.
Totally.
But the fact that he's able to, like, okay, refocus to not have that problem happen again, obviously. And even at the end, where in, like, the last scene, he uses his powers to break Trevor out of prison. To me, that isn't, okay, I made my movie, I scratched the acting bug, I'm now a hero. To me, that's, I want you in the sequel, so I'm going to break you out of prison. You know, it's kind of like, you know, it definitely, or even just like, I owe you a debt, so I'm going to do that. But I feel like, you know, if he walks out of that and Sam Wilson is watching him and is like, cool, so you ready to, like, become a hero now? I don't think he's going to be like, yeah, I'm a hero now. He'd be like, no, I got to go make the sequel. Like, I'm an actor. You guys go deal with Dr. Doom, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
This is, I'm going to be over here. I just had to save my buddy. And that's what he's willing to do. And you're right, because of the model that we've set up, that feels like an immoral act. I don't think it is, though, necessarily for him, in part because he has found a way that he can give back, and that acting is a powerful thing for that.
Totally agree. Yeah. Not everybody, there are other jobs that people can have in the world. And as we kind of mentioned in the last episode, if superpowers are a part of you, of how you are, there's no moral obligation to use your powers in that way. You do have a moral obligation to the world around you, I think, to be the best person that you can and help other people when you have the opportunity. That's not the only way to do it.
Right. Yeah. Like, I think there was a Will Smith movie made a long time ago about a guy with superpowers who's just a selfish jerk and kind of refuses to help the world in any way whatsoever. I think it was called Hancock or Hitchcock or something like that. Hancock. Thank you. And to me, it felt like that's not who he is. You know, like, yeah, he's making Wonderman. It's not the most, like, political impactful thing, but I think, yeah, if he he looks at the world and he doesn't like there being right and wrong, and he might say, okay, well, these terrible things are happening. I'm going to make a movie to help inspire people to do something about it, rather than I'm going to go use my superpowers to go do something about it. Because the thing is, often, the Peter Parker idea of with great power comes great responsibility, I think is somewhat based on an idea of you're the only one.
Yes.
At this point, there's a lot of people with great power,
Yeah. It goes back to something that I've been thinking, just in my own life as an activist and watching, the direction that this country has taken over the course of my lifetime, and feeling burnout and feeling frustration. And I've just kind of had to remind myself, like, you don't have to do it all yourself. You just have to do a little more than you thought you could.
Yeah. I think it's a really good way to put it.
That's good.
No, it's true. And I say that as someone who could be out driving around and could be out literally putting myself in between ICE agents and the people are trying to arrest. I've decided what I'm going to do is stay at home and look up license plate numbers to help the people who are doing that. And also talk about these issues and help people think, hey, if I liked it in the show, maybe you should, be doing something about it themselves.
And raise a child. Yeah.
Yeah. And raise a kid, which is, a fun thing in and of itself.
Big deal.
I did introduce him to his first Darth Vader toy. So I'm possibly either introducing him to a great set of media or creating a situation that I'll have to answer for in court when he goes full Sith, but we'll see. We'll see where that turns out. So. All right. So you two are my Marvel experts. Obviously you're not specifically MCU in that regard, but like you've thought a lot about the MCU and all that. Where is this going to fit? Is this just a one-off story? It does feel like almost everything we're doing right now is leading up to Doctor Doom. And so it feels like you're kind of wondering, like, is everything putting another piece on the board for that story? What do you think? Is this a one-off? Are we going to see Wonderman again?
I think okay, I think we're as likely to see Wonderman again as we are to see like Moon Knight again, which is to say, who the hell knows? I mean, we talked about this a little bit in the like first episode of just like these MCU projects I think they thrive when they are just standalone single character dives. You can introduce random side characters and like do a doorman or Mr. Immortal and stuff like that. But like if the title character you show only ever existed in these 1 or 2 seasons, best case scenario down the line, that's okay. That's okay with me. Do I need to have Wonderman show up as like a on your left moment in Doomsday? No.
Yeah.
Would it be cool to see him on the big screen doing ionic energy stuff with someone else with like Captain Marvel, like getting her power boosted, even though she doesn't need it because she's way too powerful anyway? Like, would that be cool? Yeah. But do I need it? No. Do I expect it? Honestly, no.
Yeah.
No.
I don't need to see Wonderman again. The character Wonderman elsewhere in the MCU. I'm totally happy with him just being right here, and that's it.
Totally agree.
I have a funny thing and then a real thing. There's one way in which I want to see him in the Doctor Doom movie. I want to see a scene where Sam Wilson and someone from Fantastic Four, the X-Men, are having a conversation on the street. And they're talking about, okay, who can we recruit? Who are the people with superpowers? And they're going through the list and they're like, I don't know who we can get. And they're standing right in front of a poster for Simon's next book, and they just and it never occurs to them that that's the extent I want to see him in, like
right,
like
yeah.
But you're right.
Well, see, like I wanted Tony Stark to say no shit Sherlock to Strange, and that never happened. So yeah. But like it would be super fun and self-referential, and I love that. That's a great idea.
Right. And like I think it's very significant that this did not have any kind of post-credit scene, because going all the way back to the start of the MCU, they gave us these individual character movies, but then always the post-credits would be going all the way back to Fury showing up and saying, Tony, let me talk to you about the Avenger Initiative. The post-credit scene was how they would say, that's the individual story. Now let's pull it into the larger one. And I thought the fact that they didn't have that was a pretty good sign of this is going to be allowed to be much more of a standalone thing. And I do like the pulling everyone together, but I think at this point the universe is big enough that we don't need everyone, and it would just feel like ridiculous to try and put everyone in. And it, to me, you're right. I think he went through some self-actualization, but if he just showed up at Avengers headquarters and said, "Hey, I've got these powers, I'm here to help," it would feel all wrong. I feel like I need a whole second season of him deciding to become the person who's then going to go join the X-Men or whatever to then go 100%. And help against Dr. Doom or Secret Wars or whatever it is.
Embracing your powers and deciding to be a superhero are two very disconnected things.
Yeah.
And that arc of like, I understand my powers now. I understand how I can use them. What am I going to do with them? That deserves a 4-episode arc for sure.
Right. I think the other way to be okay with it is if they bring the Eternals in, which I did think those were really fun characters, even if I didn't love their movie. Having Kingo make some kind of a reference to like, you think I'm the only actor with superpowers? That could be kind of fun, you know?
Yeah, that would be fun.
Or they collab in a project and then they kind of, you know.
Oh, that'd be so. They have that moment of like, wait, you?
Yeah,
I know something. Do you know something? Is it the same something I know?
Yeah.
They used to put out, I don't know if you guys remember this, but during, I think, phase 1 and maybe phase 2, they used to put out these shorts that were like 5 to 15 minutes. The one I most remember is leading up to the Thor movie. They had one of, oh my God, I can't remember his name. The agent who gets killed in Avengers, but then goes on.
Coulson.
You know, they had this one shot of Coulson driving down to Phoenix, to Arizona, New Mexico. They had this one shot of Coulson driving down to New Mexico to find Thor, and he gets into this gas station that's being held up, and it's just a fun little scene. I'd love if he showed up in something like that, you know, or a post credits. But
you know what? I'd be down. That's cool. I'm down for random Disney Plus cameo Marvel one-shots.
Yeah.
Fun. I'd be down for that.
That sounds fun to me.
Something happened on the way to Thor's hammer. I think that's what it was called.
Yeah.
I miss those one shots. Although I got soured on one shots after Agent Carter. Because the Agent Carter in the Agent Carter one shot was very different from the Agent Carter we got during the season pauses, the winter breaks for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
But they were and weren't canon. Like, and it once that all went down, I was just like, man, I don't want the one shots anymore.
That's fair. Yeah. I think the kind of like, is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. canon or not? Is the Netflix MCU canon or not?
There's that.
That's frustrating.
Yeah, they brought in Netflix. I wish they brought in Agents. I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. happened because of the MCU.
Right.
It spawned off directly from the MCU. And they did Inhumans well. Well, better than the MCU Inhumans.
Yeah.
But, you know, whatever. Be what it be.
I'll say one last thing about this and then kind of let you guys comment and then we'll wrap up. You mentioned Moon Knight, and that hit me because there I was like, no, I need more Moon Knight, you know? And I feel like the problem with all the one-shot series and movies, I think, has been that so often they leave them with a lot of like dangling threads that never go anywhere. Like, I don't know if we're ever going to see Moon Knight again, and I want to, because I want to know, like, who, you know, there's so much still to learn. I feel like this is the first one that really gave us a full and complete story. And I like these actors. I like these characters. I'd like to see more. I'm not left with any like dangling questions that I'm like, please bring them back the way I am with Moon Knight or some of the others. Is that where you guys
and then also to your point about end credit scenes, Moon Knight had a self-fulfilling end credit scene with the revelation of Jake Lockley,
right?
The third personality that Khonshu has under his contract. And so like, yeah, there it's written in the way that they did the show. It's written in that you do a second season of Steve and Mark finding out about Jake all in the same body and figuring out the air quote balance between those three personalities. So yeah,
that's a huge
a second season of Moon Knight works.
That's a cliffhanger. I couldn't think of the word of it. That's a huge cliffhanger, and I feel like this show didn't have any cliffhangers at the end.
I love that for it. Yeah, I think it's just kind of the strategy has been a little borked from the start of Disney Plus. They haven't really decided, okay, we want this to supplement the movies. We want this to be a proving ground for new ideas. We want continuing stories. It's just, and then they don't, give anything a second season. It's just been so scattershot. I don't trust the MCU in any to really flesh out any idea that they've developed in the Disney Plus shows, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. But I think that makes me all the happier that this show happened, because to me, I am still going to see a Doctor Doom movie. I'm excited for more superhero movies, but I think superhero fatigue is real. And a lot of us have been talking about, we want to see more movies where people have superpowers, but it's not a superhero story. And this is like, if someone said, look at the last 2 years of MCU, what do you want more of? I would immediately point to this and say, give me more things like this.
So. Absolutely. Also, I'm looking at like the releases for the Disney Plus shows. Eyes of Wakanda. I also recommend for like extra MCU side kind of stuff.
Nice. That one's animated. I was excited to see that. I haven't gotten around to it.
It is animated, and it's a wonderfully interesting watch. I really like how they wrapped it up in those 4 episodes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's next on my list.
I'll check it out. All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Keep your eyes peeled because we may have an episode on Eyes of Wakanda coming soon. Certainly, we're going to try and be a lot more on top of, as new content comes out. But Steve and Will, if people want to find more of their stuff, you can certainly go to Hype Is My Superpower. I know that is currently like One Direction on an indefinite hiatus, but there's certainly an incredible back catalog of episodes. And I know that you guys are huge comic book nerds yourself. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. What you do allows me as someone who is not a comic book nerd to fully enjoy it, because what I feel like you do is you give a good summary of what the story is and then talk about the story in a way that me, who's never going to read the comic book just because my way my brain works with graphics and graphic art, can just appreciate. So please check out all that. Check out all the episodes. Both of them have been on both together and separately on back episodes of this. But also, I know each of you is doing some of your own creative stuff. So, Will, tell us about where people can find more of you.
Yeah, I am a very, very small-time content creator under the name of Silver Dreamer, SYLVER Dreamer. I stream on Twitch. I do a lot of building brick sets and model kits, and talk a lot about Marvel Comics. I have Channel Point Redeems on Sundays. We read comics. It's a lot of fun. If you want to talk more Marvel nerdy stuff, just definitely come and hang out there.
I love the stuff you do. I also want to say, I always like when people take my advice, of course, for all things, but you took something I said so much more literally than I meant it, and it's been so great. Because you posted something I think that a lot of people are wrestling with, and you said you're kind of thinking about, like, how do we make content about things that are fun and maybe a little more lighthearted than what's happening in the world, without people thinking we're just ignoring the important stuff in the world. And what I think I said to you was something like, look, just every now and then remind people, like, you're totally on the side of what's happening to, like, fuck ICE and all that, but you've got other things to do. And ever since then, as far as I can tell, at least the ones that are being sent on my For You page, every single one of your TikToks starts with fuck ICE. Okay, now let's talk about what I want to talk about. And I just love that.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Content creators have such a good way to do it. And Steve, are you putting anything out online these days, or in other formats where people can find?
Nothing coming soon, but yeah, I write comic books and self-publish them, and I've got a series called The Pros. It's about spies who work for an insurance company, and it's a workplace comedy / political thriller. If you think that's fun, it's hard to find, but get in contact with me and I will send you copies for some money.
Cool. Is there a link that we can use for it that I can put in the show notes?
No.
Okay. Okay. Well, if anybody's out there figuring like they want to find a way to help but don't really know what they can do, if you're a web designer, why don't you contact Steve and help him figure out a way to put his stuff online?
Yeah. Oh, no.
So-
Here's what you do. Send me a receipt for money that you've donated to Resistance Against ICE in Minneapolis or anywhere else, and I'll send you comics for free.
Awesome. I love it. And there are a couple of groups right here that are collecting money for various things. There's one that's collecting money for bail funds. One of the biggest needs is that there's a lot of people who are just afraid to leave their house because if they go out of their house, they're going to get, nailed for things, even if they're citizens or even if they have totally legitimate, green cards or whatever. So there's some charities that are established specifically to help like get those people food and stuff like that. So I will post links, and I'll also, if you want to just send it directly to me and I'll send it to Steve or to contact Steve directly, we'll put all that in the show notes. So thank you so much. And I'm now going to make sure I get a copy of this stuff because I am really curious about how this stuff interacts with mundane things like insurance. So Steve has just volunteered to come and talk about that on the podcast sometime soon. So
okay, sure, sounds good.
Yeah, I like telling people what they volunteered for that they didn't know about. So on behalf of all of us, thank you all so much for listening. Fuck ICE.
Fuck ICE.
We also play a lot of Magic. Well, we're very involved with Magic.
Yeah. And at some point we should have a conversation about Reed Pop, but that's another discussion.